Today I'm the one in the kitchen. I am making Vincenzo's favorite biscotti. This is a chocolate and almond biscotti, and I have the recipe in my head because I make it every week. So we're gonna start with some butter, and this is a whole stick of butter. It's been softened. You can see that it's been sitting out a little bit. So it's really easy to cream together. So I'm just gonna put a stick of butter into the bowl. And then I don't have any oranges, and I often do this as a substitute. I put in orange marmalade, and this is actually marmalade that I made. It's about 2 to 3 tablespoons of orange marmalade. Adds a really nice orange flavor. You can also take the zest of 1 orange and put it in there as well, if you would prefer the orange zest. Now I'm going to incorporate the orange marmalade into the butter just to add that flavor right into the butter. This was a substitute that I discovered when I was in Italy, and I didn't have oranges, but I had some orange marmalade. Next we're going to add a cup of sugar, and this is all something you can do by hand, so you don't need a mixer or anything. You just cream the butter and the sugar together with a spoon and just smooth it out. You can see those big chunks of orange peel in there are going to give it a really nice taste. Okay, so next we're going to add 1 egg, and that just goes in whole. And sometimes I beat it just a little bit before I start incorporating the butter. And again, you can use a mixer if you want to, but I just like to do this by hand. Just get it all creamed together really nicely. And so next I'm going to measure out a little bit of baking powder, and that's about 3/4 of a teaspoon, and 3/4 of a teaspoon of sea salt. And then also I'm going to add a little bit of vanilla, and actually I make my own vanilla with vodka and vanilla beans, and I've been doing this since I was in Italy. I couldn't find good vanilla when I was there, so I started making my own. You can see I have the vanilla beans in the bottle, and I just pour vodka over it when I get down to the bottom. I'm going to mix these things together next. You can also add the salt and baking powder when you add the flour if you want to, but I've always done it this way. Mix it together really well. Next I've got some roasted almonds, and these don't have any salt on them. It's about 3/4 of a cup. And then these are dark chocolate chips. So you can either use whatever chocolate chip you like. Semi-sweet would be okay too. You can also just cut up pieces of dark chocolate if you like. Incorporate that really well. So you can see how easily this comes together. All right, so the last step is just to add about 1 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour. I usually stir in 1 cup first, and then I add the second one. Sometimes this is a little bit tricky depending on your humidity. You might need more than 1 3/4 cups or a little bit less. You can see it's coming together really well. We'll add 1 more, a little bit less than 1 cup here. And it's going to come together in a nice, should be a dough that's not too sticky. You should be able to handle it with your hands. This is kind of like a shortbread biscotti. It's not going to be very hard. It'll be really soft. You can bake it on, you know, like you do a regular biscotti and get it crispy if you like, but it should be still soft enough that you can eat without dunking it. You can see how that's coming together really, really nicely here. It's almost like a cross between a biscotti, an Italian biscotti, and a chocolate chip cookie. And this is the recipe that's in Love in a Tuscan Kitchen. I make a lavender ginger biscotti with the same base dough. You can do pistachios and white chocolate, add a little bit of lemon zest for a different flavor. You can see now I can touch it with my fingers and it's not sticky, so it's perfect. All right. So next, we're gonna put it out on the pan. And we have the oven preheated. The oven's been preheated to 375 degrees. Now it's time to get my fingers in here. My hands are clean, by the way. And you can form this into 2 or 3 logs, however you like. I like to do 2 logs or 3. Sometimes I'll do 3 if Vincenzo wants little. Let's do 3 today. He likes the little baby biscotti, I call them.
Yes.
Baby biscotti. They fit into the coffee cup easier that way. And that's how he eats his breakfast. These get broken right into his coffee cup. So you can see it's just a nice log. It's about 1 inch wide and maybe 10 inches long. Now if you want to do more of the traditional biscotti that's a little bit wider, you can make them about 2 or 3 inches by 8 or 10 inches long, the logs. This is really up to you, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Mine hardly ever are perfect.
So beautiful.
You can see the dough should be easy enough for you to handle with your fingers. So if it's too sticky, you might want to add a little bit more flour. And so you just pat them out on your pan. This has got parchment on it. And then it's ready to go in the oven. So these are going to go in the oven and they will bake about 8 to 10 minutes. They'll start to get brown on the top and a little bit brown on the bottom. And so we'll show you the next step shortly. So they're going to go in the oven. Okay, so it's been about 12, 14 minutes. Depends on your oven. But it looks like they are ready to come out. And you can tell because it's a little bit brown on the outside, you can see, and they've grown just a little bit. Underneath they're going to be a little bit brown on the bottom as well. And these just need to sit now and cool. You're going to want them to cool quite a bit so you can cut them without them breaking. Probably at least 20, even 30 minutes you can let them sit. So we'll come back when it's time for them to be cut.
Bye.
Bye. Alright, so we are back with the biscotti and they've been cooling now for about 30 minutes. And you can tell when they're ready because you can actually pick them up and they don't fall apart. You can see how brown it is on the bottom. It's perfect. And they're going to cut really nicely. So I'm just going to take it on my cutting board, and then you want like a chef's knife. You don't want to use serrated knife. You want to just have a sharp blade. So you want to go down through and cut into little pieces. I guess they're about 1/2 inch wide. And you can see that they're cutting pretty well. Sometimes the almonds will pop out a little bit. That's fine. You just want to go all the way down the log until you're done. And then you're going to set them out like this on one side. And then they're going to go back in the oven again.
Yummy.
They look pretty good, don't they? And don't worry if some of them are a little crumbly. They'll come back together again when you bake them. So what I'm going to do is finish the other logs here, and then it will go back in the oven for another 10 minutes or so. And then that's the end of the biscotti. They'll be finished baking. All right, so the biscotti are ready. This is the second baking. They've been in the oven for about 10 minutes. You kind of want to watch it so they don't burn. This was at 375 and they look really perfect. Biscotti actually means twice baked. And this is my version of biscotti. It's Vincenzo's favorite. You can save it in a biscuit in like a Ziploc. It'll store really nice for a week or two. You can put them in the freezer. They'll store even longer there if they last that long. So enjoy.
Buon appetito!
Buon appetito!